Final update. My family turned against me in court, causing me to lose custody of my son. Now they need my help and are back, but I recorded their conversations to them confessing everything. They needed me to bail them out because, surprisingly, James was not the wonderful guy they had believed him to be. My brother sent me an email saying that I needed to come over to their place ASAP because they had realized something huge, and they wanted me to know because they were sick of hiding things from me and wanted to be a part of my life again. I tried to ignore that email that day, but I couldn't stop thinking that maybe this would help me with my son. So, I went over to their place in the evening. When I did go, I had expected them to be living like kings because they had sold me out for money from my ex-in-laws. But if anything, they were living worse than before. My son was thrilled to see me, though, so that was the cherry on top of a fantastic evening. When I visited my family that day, they literally started begging for forgiveness as soon as I walked in the door because apparently, they had realized how badly they had screwed up and there was no going back. But they still wanted me to forgive them. After the divorce, when they approached my ex-in-laws and James to ask about the money they had been promised, James told my family that that was not happening anymore. Apparently, it had only been insinuated that they would be compensated handsomely if they turned against me and testified in their favor, but there was nothing in writing to prove it. If my family tried to backtrack and tell me about all of this, then they would just make sure that they never saw my son again. So, for the sake of my son, they decided to keep their mouths shut, even though they were not even getting paid for it like they had been promised. But it got worse because they had been used terribly. Not only had they been manipulated to testify against me, but they were also being treated like free babysitters. James would drop our son off at my parents' place every single day, and they had to watch him while sacrificing their own time. It was highly inconvenient because even my dad and my brother had jobs to attend to, and my mother couldn't handle all the household work and looking after her grandson all by herself because she was getting old. So, either my dad or my brother would have to work from home every day, and it was becoming really difficult for them. This is why they had contacted me to finally put an end to this. Apparently, they wanted to strike a deal with me and said that if I gave them the money that my ex-in-laws promised them, they would take my side this time in court and make sure that I got custody of my son. I was about to suggest this myself, but honestly, it was not surprising that they did it. My family had always been very materialistic, and even more so now that my dad's business had failed and they were back to working jobs for other people. Obviously, they would want money more than ever now because my dad wanted to retire, but he didn't even have enough money put aside since he had put all his money into the business and it went on to fail. They said that they could concoct some story about how they had been pressured and coerced into testifying against me, so they couldn't be charged with perjury while under oath. But little did they know that I didn't actually need help anymore. I had been recording everything that they had said right from the second I stepped foot into the house because I knew that there was something messed up going on, and I didn't want to take any risks. So, I had everything on record anyway. Nevertheless, I told my family to send me the screenshots if they had any to prove that they had been used and lied to. Then, I told them that I would help them out and then left. I had already seen my son, and I had more than enough proof to file for custody again. So, that's what I did the next day with my lawyer, and this time I was prepared. The custody case is still ongoing, but one thing is for sure, I'll be able to prove that none of the things that James had accused me of had been true, and my family had been lying about everything all along. I've already played the recording, and that has swayed things in my favor considerably. James and his lawyer are literally scrambling for evidence in their favor, and I am taking it all in and enjoying the show because this is what they had put me through last time, and now I get to do it to them and I couldn't be happier about it. The only thing that's been less than ideal is that they have been claiming that I have also used them just like James did and that I had no right to record them without their consent and use it against them. But in my state, it's completely okay and admissible in court. So, I didn't understand what they were referring to until they told me that I had betrayed their trust by recording them. These are bold words from people who betrayed my trust first by taking my ex-husband's side in the custody case. They believed that what I did was wrong because what they had done was out of necessity. They needed the money, but I didn't need to screw them over and put them at risk of perjury because they had already agreed to help me out and testify against James and his family, so I didn't have to go behind their backs. They've been texting me relentlessly, and it's getting harder for me to ignore. Update 1. Hello everyone. The custody case is still ongoing, and James and his lawyer are trying their very hardest to prove that they have been telling the truth. Of course, they might be facing charges, and it's a felony, so they might get jail time. But that's really not my concern right now, and it shouldn't have been at any point. I don't even know why I was getting worried about my parents when they clearly didn't worry about me when it was my turn. So, it's really just coming back to them right now. The comments section opened my eyes to how my parents were extremely entitled, but anyway, I have cut ties with them. All of them can go where they want to. I want my son to be all right and with me. I have waited long enough for this, and I'm not going to let my family and their victimization of themselves continue. If they can sell me out for money, I don't think it's necessary for me to show any loyalty towards them. I'm done now. Update 2. So, the good news is that I finally got custody of my son. I don't think I've ever felt so happy in my entire life. The other good news is that my in-laws, James, and my family were charged with perjury, and yes, they might go to jail for it. I bet they're regretting everything now, but I don't care about any of it because I got what I wanted. I got my son back, and that's all I had ever asked for. From what I know, James is still trying to fight it and stay out of jail, but I don't think it's going to work. I've already filed for a restraining order against all of them because I've been receiving very threatening text messages, and I am 100% sure that it has to be from these people because nobody else would want to harm me unless it's them. Things have been really busy and hectic for the past couple of weeks, but I'm learning to slow down now. I desperately want to spend more time with my son, so I have decided that I'm going to cut my work hours shorter. I've also thought about selling the house and moving to a smaller apartment so I can save more money. I still have a lot of work to do. Rebuilding my relationship with my son is not going to be an easy task because even though he is happy to be with me, he still asks about his dad and his grandparents, and I don't know what to tell him. He has told me a couple of things about them, like how he had been living with his grandparents for the most part, and his dad and my in-laws were only there for him for part of the day. Whenever I asked him about how it was living with his grandparents, he makes a face and says that it was not that great because everyone would constantly be fighting, and I can totally see that. It sounds like they really gave him a rough time just because they didn't want to take up his responsibility. I can't imagine why they would treat a child like that, but I couldn't put it past these people. They are most definitely capable of even making a little boy feel bad about himself. But anyway, I don't have to worry about that because now he is with me. Update 3. Hi everyone. I can't believe I'm back here after almost 5 years. It feels kind of unreal how different my life is right now. 5 years is a really long time, and so much has changed. The first being how much older my son is. We have a beautiful relationship right now, and after countless therapy sessions, he and I have finally become the mother and son that we should have been right from the beginning. He's growing up to be a wonderful man, and I'm sure that he will turn out to be nothing like his father because I just know it in my heart. He is 9 years old right now and already a perfect gentleman. I'm raising him on my own, and I have full custody because James gave up and moved to Europe after he was out of jail. I can't say that I'm surprised. He went away with his co-worker, who he had been cheating on me with, and now they are married. I guess he just replaced his actual biological son with the other kid. It's horrifying, but that's the kind of person that he is. As for my parents and my brother, they were out of jail after 6 months for good behavior. We have not kept in touch, and they did not try to reach out to me after they were out, which I am grateful for because I don't think I would have had anything to say to them anyway. I don't have any news about my in-laws. I haven't heard about them or from them for years, and it's for the best. I think I'm living a life now. I have a stable job and a steady income by God's grace. I'm still working at the company that I started out with my friend's business, and it's doing pretty great. So, life turned out well for me and my son, and it's more than what I could have asked for. I'm truly grateful for everything.